I think it's time. My name's Neil, and I have reached a point with my hair where I'm going to make the decision to be permanently shaven-headed for the rest of my life. So while it looks like I've got a really good head of hair, it's thinning. I mean, and it's been thinning at the top for about 20 years. So if you look at that, there's still a lot of hair there, but there's no denying that I'm going bald. Now, there's no shame in going bald. Really, as me as a person, I'm not that bothered about suddenly being, one of those bald guys who's always got a shaven head. Philosophically and personality-wise, I don't really mind that. I think my biggest issue is that my two main jobs, I'm an actor and a presenter. Now, acting-wise, I know very well that if you need hair for a job, then a wig is provided. So they don't necessarily judge, oh, bald guys can only play bald parts. We're not all Bruce Willis and Jason Statham and Vin Diesel, etc. and The Rock. You get the idea with that. But as a presenter, I know that there's a real perception of style. So that's sort of been what's holding me back. And also because when you're a presenter, you often present directly to camera. So unless you're doing an interview, there isn't a huge amount of call for the back of your head to be shot. So I suppose I've been clinging to having hairstyles as long as I can. I just did a job in Rome, my first trip abroad of the year under COVID. And I saw some photos afterwards, and this is a second or third dodgy COVID lockdown haircut. From the back, it just looked awful, like I was trying to hide something, which I wasn't, but it was like a big flappy comb over. I suppose that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't want to be that guy that looks like he's hiding something. As a kid, I used to have long blonde hair. In my late 20s, early 30s, I had long hair, sometimes blonde. But now I think I've got to embrace the rest of my life as someone who has very close cropped hair, which is a good look. And I think hopefully I've got the right shaped head for it. And funnily enough, one of the things that's kept me going all this time, and there was a stand-up comedian I worked with, because I've done a lot of stand-up. And that was another thing, is when I was on the stand-up circuit, you didn't always want to walk on stage as a shaven-headed comic, because there's an immediate connection. The audience makes assumptions about you which aren't necessarily correct. So, but this stand-up called Ron Vaudrey, really good, really solid Canadian stand-up, and I really respect him for doing this. We did a gig together, must have been like 2008, 2009, and he just said, took me to one side and said, you need to start using Alpacin, Dr. Wolf's Alpacin caffeine shampoo. And I'm like, what? And he said, well, because you're thinning at the top, I wish someone had given me this advice. So for the last kind of 13 years, every day I've used Alpacin shampoo. And obviously this isn't an ad, but I do think that it has massively slowed down the process of my hair loss. So my advice to you, if you're, nowhere near as the stage of shaving it all off, and you've got male pattern baldness and it's thinning, then rather than, taking all the drugs or doing all the expensive stuff, just use a caffeine shampoo for a while. And it's kind of kept the hair on my head, I think. Might be psychological, might be psychosomatic, it might be bullshit. I don't know, but I've been doing that pretty much every day for about 13 years, and I think that's partially why I've still got quite a lot of hair. But anyway, I think it is time for me to embrace the second half of my life and how I'm going to look. So, shall we do this? Let's do this. Just going to go straight down the middle. The other thing to mention here is that I'm currently in quarantine from a trip to Rome, and I won't be able to go and visit the barbers who have newly reopened before I'm on another job. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this as a home job. Otherwise I'd go and see Larry the barber, who I've seen once in the last 14 months to do a normal haircut. But sorry, Larry, this is a DIY job. Lockdown, innit? Maybe slightly shorter than I expected, but that's probably me now for the rest of my life. Does it look okay? Comment below.